Hey everybody, John from Bash coming at you with another entitled parent Reddit video, where an entitled mother tries to get a free rabbit for her 4-year-old child. When that doesn't work, why not just steal one? It's not like they can defend themselves, right? Let's jump right in. Entitled parents, no, I won't give your 4-year-old a rabbit for free. First, a bit of information, so this makes more sense. I breed rabbits. I raise a few different breeds primarily for my dinner table, but also for showing and supporting other breeders and 4-H, FFA kids needing project livestock. I rarely sell pets and never advertise them as pets. On the rare occasion I get a pet inquiry, I sell only a rabbit that's suitable for petdom, friendly, not aggressive, and most importantly, if the inquirer seems like they've researched rabbit ownership and agrees to return the rabbit if for some reason they have to rehome it. I never sell rabbits for holidays or birthdays. I am picky with pet homes, as the life of a pet rabbit can go one of two ways. They're loved and kept for the entirety of their lives, or they're bounced around from home to home when the novelty wears off, and eventually end up in a shelter, or as a bait animal, or as someone's dinner. Okay, on to the story. EM, entitled and loud mother. LK, little kid, 4 years old, was cute and didn't do anything wrong. F, my friend, show buddy. Me, which is me. I was at a rabbit show with a friend. It was midday, and we had finished 2 of the 3 shows taking place that day. It was lunch break, and my friend and I were finishing up our sandwiches and were prepping our show line up for the last show when this rather large woman and her little kid approached our setup, looking at the rabbit I had on my grooming table. What an adorable bunny! Look at the bunny, little kid! Ooh! Thank you. It was a very cute rabbit, loped ears and all white with blue eyes. How much is it? Oh, this one isn't for sale. He's one of my show rabbits. Note, I had a chalkboard with the available rabbits listed. Most of the sales that take place at shows are other breeders and 4-H, FFA youth breeder showers. At this point, I had no clue if the entitled mother was a breeder or if she was looking for a rabbit appropriate for her child to show. It was rare that people showed up looking for pets at a show, since most of the available are rabbits that will be priced for show, breeding, and depending on quality can be pricey. I pointed out my chalkboard and told her I could show her whoever she was interested in. She balked at my prices. Why are they so expensive? Those are absolutely ridiculous prices. My cheapest rabbit was $60, most expensive was $200. They're priced off quality. If you want a decent show rabbit, they'll be more than a brood quality rabbit. I just want a pet for little kid, so you don't need to charge us so much. Oh, I see. Unfortunately, none of the rabbits I brought are appropriate for a small child's pet. What? Why? The big ones are friendly, but weigh over 12 pounds. They're too big for the little kid to handle easily. The little ones are aggressive. They require an experienced handler. They aren't friendly or cuddly at all and aren't available for a pet home. They're available to other breeders. Fine. We'll take a big one. The 2 I have available are $150 and $200. Both are proven and registered grand champions. I am not paying that much for a rabbit! You're out of your mind! I am not going to lower their prices. They are worth it and will be great additions to any breeder's herd. They really are too large for a little kid to safely handle anyway. If they don't feel secure while being held, they will kick out of fear. Such a large rabbit could seriously hurt a small child. There might be other exhibitors selling rabbits more appropriate for your daughter and at a pet price. At that moment, one of my breeds was called over the megaphone. Lunch break was over. I scooped up the rabbit off the grooming table and started to move towards the show tables. Excuse me, I need to put my rabbits up. The judging is starting up. I don't understand why there's so much. You should just give little kid a rabbit because she'll love it and give it a good home. Little kid was looking at the rabbits in transport cages, clearly enthralled by all of them. She seemed particularly interested in the small, high-strung ones. She was being good though, not touching and not wanting to hold any of them. I won't give away any of my rabbits. Excuse me. I am trying to do business with you. You're going to brush off a paying customer? That's incredibly rude. I can see why no one has bought any of your rabbits. You are being a selfish witch. Listen, lady, this is a rabbit show, not a pet store. I'm an exhibitor, not an employee. I don't have to sell anything to you. I didn't have to explain to you why none of my rabbits would be a good match for you, and I most certainly don't have to lower any of my prices for someone claiming they're not worth it because they aren't educated enough to know a purebred from a mutt. Go look on Craigslist if you want a $20 rabbit. You won't find that here. I do not deserve to be called names because you think you're entitled to other people's time and property. Now, I need to get my rabbits up. Get out of my way. She muttered some insult, which I didn't clearly hear, but I ignored her. I spent the next 15 minutes or so taking rabbits to the table and watched the judging. All of a sudden, I hear a blood-curdling scream coming from the direction of my staging area. I look over to see the entitled mother flailing about with a tiny rabbit latched onto the squishy part of her fat hand. Between the pointer finger and thumb, she's screaming bloody murder, understandably as rabbit bites hurt, and pulling the rabbit from the hind end. My friend is trying to grab the rabbit and not having any luck since the entitled mother is flailing about like a fish. I'm pissed. I'm also mean when I'm angry, and I'm seeing red. We have clip-on notices on the transport cages that clearly say, "Do not touch," and "I bite." This moron went into my cages while I wasn't looking and tried to remove one of my rabbits. I was ready to punch this sow of a woman. I run to her, grab her by the wrist, and scream at her to hold still, otherwise she'll never get the rabbit off. She's obviously in pain, little kid is crying from the commotion, and my friend is looking pale and wide-eyed at the whole ordeal. The rabbit is breathing hard, bleeding from his rear feet and not letting go. I do the only thing I could think of and shove my pen into the side of his mouth, pushing against her hand to pry him off. She screams and tries to jerk away, which makes me snarl a very angry, "Hold the flip still." "You're hurting me." "Do you want him off or not? I'm trying to help you. I told you they were aggressive. You did not have permission to touch any of my rabbits." Off pops the rabbit, wild-eyed and panicked. Back into his carrier he goes. He now looks very smug. "Ah!" Bleeding everywhere. "I am going to sue you! Your rabbit attacked me!" "I told your stupid blank that they were aggressive. You had no right to touch any of my rabbits. There's a sign on his cage that says he bites. Can you not read?" On the phone with police. "Yes, I'd like to report an attempted theft and need someone here ASAP." "Yes, get the cops here. Your rabbit assaulted me. You brought a rabid rabbit to a place where there are children. It could have maimed my child." Only if she had broken into my cages like you did. What kind of example are you setting for your kid? "Flip you." At that point, the show secretary leads the entitled mother and little kid off for some first aid, and I check over my rabbit. The stupid cow thrashed him about so hard that all 4 toenails on both hind feet had been broken off and were bleeding. According to my friend, the entitled mother refused to leave after I took my rabbits up to be judged and had been grilling my friend about the rabbits and the prices. When another of our breeds was called up, my friend had started to bring those rabbits up. In about 20 seconds of being unobserved by one of us, the entitled mother thought it would be a good idea to steal one of the small rabbits. Our neighbor had watched her open my cage and grab the rabbit. Fortunately, she picked one of the meanest ones we have, and being an uneducated fool, picked him up by grabbing him by the chest and back, right in bite range. The cops showed up and took our statement and then her statement. I showed them the bloody back feet of my rabbit and informed them I wanted to press charges for property damage. Since rabbits qualify as livestock in my state, Damage of property was all I could press for. Animal control was also called, and she was cited and charged with animal endangerment. Unfortunately, the wounded rabbit's toenails grew in white, so he can no longer be shown and his value dropped. She ended up paying me the full cost of the rabbit and has a ban from all rabbit shows with the club that put that particular show on. She undoubtedly has a nasty scar to show off as well. Entitled mom at fair leaves son in the heat. Child Protective Services called. Alright, this is a story from when I worked at a fair in my freshman year of college. Backstory doesn't matter, but I think someone will ask anyway, so I had to work here to get money for food and start getting money from my student loans. Now to start the story. It was a pretty hot day at the fair, and I was working under a tent at the bumper cars. I'm pretty sure my manager just didn't want to deal with an 18-year-old getting heat stroke because of him. Anyways, I see entitled mother and poor kid approach the rides. Poor kid's face is as red as Rudolph's nose. All he had in his hand was a lollipop, and the entitled mother was chugging a bottle of water. I also noticed that poor kid looks too light to go on the ride. At the fair I worked for, we have to weigh the people going on bumper cars so they won't break their bones when they get hit by another car. After about 20 minutes, the entitled mother and poor kid make it to the front. I put poor kid on the scale, and as guessed, he's too light. The following conversation ensues. A bit of rewording, I don't remember the exact convo. Sorry, ma'am, but your son is too light for this ride. May I suggest one of our other rides? No, he'll be fine, just let him on. Ma'am, I can't do that. Alright, I'll just leave him here then. It's not my job to babysit your kid. Do not disrespect me. Alright then. I just decide to let this go and watch the poor kid for a little while. I let everyone onto the ride, and just as I'm about to start, I hear thump and tons of gasps. I turn to look behind me, and the poor kid is on the ground, passed out. Thank God my podium was in the grass. I quickly call the manager on the walkie-talkie he gave us and pick up the kid. Does anyone have any water? A lady hands me a bottle, and I pour it on the poor kid's face to cool him down. The manager comes with an ice pack to cool down the poor kid, and this whole time, the entitled mother has been huffing and puffing and mumbling about how the ride hasn't started yet. I ignored all of this until she finally says something out loud. Leave him, he'll be fine. Ma'am, we can't do that, he could die. No, he won't, he's my kid and I know what's best. I was fuming at this point. This lady was choosing a ride over her child. I took out my phone and called the police to arrest this lady and get an ambulance for the kid, who seemed to be waking up. The entitled mother tried to run when she saw what I was doing, but some random stranger held her down so she couldn't go anywhere. The entitled mother even tried to press charges against the guy who held her down. The cops arrived with the ambulance. The poor kid was placed in the ambulance. The entitled mother was placed in the cop car, and Child Protective Services was called. The poor dad was called as well, but Child Protective Services needed to investigate the home. The entitled mother ended up getting charged for numerous things, but the only one that I vividly remember, the manager telling me, was child endangerment and attempted murder. She got what she deserved. A few months later, I saw the poor kid and the poor dad in a store and walked up to them. Turns out the poor dad was in the process of divorcing the entitled mother and currently had full custody of the poor kid. Sweet, sweet justice. This has been John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, then please hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and share it with your friends. And we'll see you in the next one.